I quit my job. I had saved up $5,000. I just made that figure up. I'm making all this up, okay? But I'd managed to save $5,000, and I thought, if I don't eat anything but ramen noodles, if I could hang on for 6 months, I'd give myself 6 months. I could always go back to this miserable job, but if in 6 months I could make X amount of dollars, or if in 6 months I was making the equivalent of what I was making at this job, or whatever you want, but you want to attach a money figure to it. Okay.
Okay.
So that's so I started, so that's when I started my e-commerce job. So now that's step two, the tipping point, and do that. Now you have your goal. I want to make X amount of dollars in this amount of time doing e-commerce. And then sort of like you said here, so you do the e-commerce, and you said, well, there were two problems I ran into immediately. One was, if I have my own business and I'm trying to sell stuff online for myself, I'm going to have to write all the copy to sell it. And then you can just hear this on the recording, but I said, then you talk to somebody, or or you read in a book, or I like it when somebody said, maybe your same friend or somebody else, or you went to a class and they said, the thing is, I thought to myself, or I said to somebody else that was doing successful, where you have a conversation and they say, look, you say, I'm no good at writing. I got C's in writing in school, or whatever way you want to put it. And they say, yeah, those people who are great at writing school, they're not good copywriters, and that's it. The other obstacle, but the two obstacles were, number one, I was going to have to invest a lot of that 5,000 because I had to buy ads for the things I was selling, or I had to buy ad space and whatever the money was. And you were going to go through that awfully quickly. And then the other one was, you weren't good at writing. Say the other thing first and then say the writing. Okay.
Got it.
Then say you were convinced that, they said, you don't need to do that. You need to write simply and so. So I started looking at good copy. I started figuring out how to do it. And I found out I was really good at that. My high copy, I got a response and so on. The other problem was tougher to solve though, because now at the midpoint, that's when you're going to switch. The point of no return, which isn't in those steps, but you have to discover you're a good copywriter, and then you have to decide you lose all that money. And now you're in worse shape than you were, because in the terrible job, at least you'd saved up some money. Now you have nothing. But you thought, how now am I going to make money? And then you come up with the idea of the stuff. So it's horrible job goes into e-commerce. After you react to the horrible job, something makes you think I could do different. You go into e-commerce. That doesn't pan out, but you do learn how to be a good copywriter. Then you start selling your copywriting service. And then the climax is when you discover I like that idea that one guy's going to pay you $6,000.